Good morning. So, my latest book review was going to be on Maze Runner, but I decided not to do that one. I just wasn't in the mood for it. It's the sort of thing with me that if I'm going to read a book, if I am not in the mood for it, then I'm not going to enjoy it. So, I figured it would be a little bit unfair to actually read the Maze Runner and then just not enjoy it, just because I purely wasn't in the mood. So I decided instead to do The Boyfriend List by Lockhart. Didn't have to double check that at all. I actually found this on a list of books recommended for people dealing with issues with anxiety and things like that. Initially, my first thought was, okay, is it just going to be sort of easily dismissible teeny fiction? And to an extent, it starts out like that, but it is actually a lot smarter than just anything that can easily be dismissed with, just a label as teeny fiction. The story of it is, of course, something based on a girl in school, but at the end of the day, the actual core behind it, if you pay attention to the narrative itself from the character, the core view behind it is based on someone who is clearly overthinking every single situation and is essentially driving herself into panic attacks and anxiety issues. And that's the very clever thing about it. It's very good at helping you to sort of identify your own sort of thought processes as far as how you deal with awkward situations or problematic events. And so in that regard, it is very good. It's a fairly short book. I mean, it's about 200 odd pages. I'll just find it exactly. Yeah, 229 pages. I got through it in basically about a week, and that's just with reading about half an hour here or there at a time. So it's a very easy read. It flows very well. I'm not a huge fan of the way that the author has addendums in each page as it goes on to sort of insert things at the bottom as just a way of saying, and put number one, I talked about this, blah, 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 blah. I'm not a huge fan of that. It does kind of break up the flow of it a little for me. It's good in that you're seeing it from the point of view of the person writing. She's essentially deliberately making it broken. And in my opinion anyway, I might be completely and utterly wrong with this. I usually am. But it feels very much like the author is trying to write from the point of view of a non-professional person, in that she's writing from the point of view of this girl, Ruby Oliver, and we're seeing her just basically splooshing on the page and just going, right, blah, 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 and everything comes out. But it works. It's still fairly well structured behind that, and she does a very good job. As I said, the way I sort of read it was deliberately unprofessional, or at least professionally unprofessional. But as I said, in my opinion, it works. I'm just not a huge fan of it, but that's just personal choice. But overall, the book is actually very funny. It's not very often that I get to the end of a book and I've already decided that I very much enjoyed it by the end of it. The main thing for me with enjoying a book is if you don't know that there's actually a sequel to it, or at least a follow-up, and you get to the end of the book and it's like, here's an excerpt from the book, and before you even read the excerpt, you decided you're going to get that too. That's a sign of whether or not you've enjoyed a book, in my opinion. I've very much enjoyed this. As I said, not the greatest fan of the structure, but overall it's something that I think's done in a very deliberate way for a deliberate reason. So it's something that, as much as I didn't enjoy it, I'm not going to mark the book down for that. Overall, great characterization as well. It's very easy to identify with the main character, but it's also very easy to get to grips with the other characters in the book, especially when you're seeing them from the main character's point of view. You're very much able to see, right, here's how she's seeing them, and I can take off the rose-tinted specs and then see how I perceive this person. Even from what I've heard purely from the main character's point of view, I can see what I think these other characters are trying to achieve or what they're trying to get at. Again, trying not to spoil anything, but you'll very much figure out what's going to happen with a couple of characters, because you'll get them. You'll know where it's going. You'll know what they're trying to accomplish, for good or bad, as it goes on. But all in all, it's a very well realised book. I would say overall, I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. It's a very funny book, very enjoyable, and I would say anybody that has issues with anxiety, or at least social anxiety especially, definitely needs to give this a read, because it will definitely drive home the point of, look, here's this perfectly normal person, and about halfway through the book you realise she is just overthinking everything, and you realise that she's working herself into her own panic attacks. And if it's something that you do yourself, seeing somebody else do it and seeing their thought process for it is very helpful in terms of actually then identifying that you're doing it yourself. So as I said, 8 out of 10, very good book, and definitely needs to be read by anybody that deals with anxiety or social anxiety themselves. And frankly, anybody who's actually still in school is a very good book for that. As far as the next book I'm going to read, I haven't actually decided yet. I'm actually just going to do a little bit of writing in my journal. I mean, look, this is my journal. How nice is that? I mean, it's actually a good book, without trying to give you any lens flare and blind the hell out of you. Haha, there we go. My face is now blocking the window. Yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit of that today, and then I'm going to decide later what I'm going to read next. If anyone has any suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I've also uploaded a video of me singing as well, which is actually seems to be doing pretty good, actually. Yay! So yeah, feel free to go and have a watch of that. I can't believe I've droned on for 7 minutes about a book. Holy crap. You know what, I'm going to stop now before I just go on and on and on and on and waste your entire day. But yes, my next book review will be up as soon as I finish reading it. Thank you all for watching.